Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, and all the other weirdos, thank you so much for tuning in again. I'm Adam Riot Thorne, and with me I have, and I hope I'm going to say your last name right, with Zoe Angeli. Or
Yeah,
is it,
yeah.
are we going to go with it? Okay. um, Zoe is all of a sudden the talk of the town for the people in our little scene of the sort of underground filmmakers, um, mainly because of this little thing that's come out called Coven of the Black Cube,
Coven of the Black Cube.
which is kind of like a huge collection of everyone in our scene. So many people have little guest appearances in it, but not only does Zoe star in it, Zoe gets to be the writer. So Zoe is a model, a writer, a performer, an artist all around for the scene. So you're going to be seeing a lot of Zoe coming up, but we'll talk about that in a moment because what you just saw beforehand was a piece of a short animated piece by Daniel Alfredo that was sent to me for Terrible Fest, and I am playing it on October 8th, part of the short showcase that will happen just before we play Coven of the Black Cube. So, what did you think of the animated piece?
I really liked it. I really love stop animation, especially claymation, just because you have to build all the parts and pieces for the films. I did some really bad stop animation in high school and college, and so I understand how long it also takes to do everything. And I really liked the homage to when you're especially making horror content and creative elements surrounding horror, you do kind of get ideas in really wacky and weird ways. And it's funny how the things that you surround yourself with kind of tailor your work and how they come out in the projects that you make. So, yeah, it was really cute.
Well, I thought it was also fitting. I actually really only thought of it now, how fitting it was with the amount that Bruce likes doing claymation, as he's done that for opening credits and so forth and other projects as well. So
Coven of the Black Cube.
it does actually kind of connect with you guys. It will be the one you just saw, the fungi of Yuggoth will be the first thing that everyone sees when they come in on October 8th. And I will later send you some of the other ones so you get to see them as well, Zoe.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, again, thanks so much for coming here, talking to us. About a year and a half ago, I talked to Bruce back when we played Blood Sick Psychosis, the only film we've played at Terrible Fest where a regular has said, "Oh, I got kind of upset and I couldn't come back the next day." I was like, "Oh no, I think I
Oh,
actually
good.
upset this person." They got nightmares because of their cat. Um, but I hadn't seen them in a while, and I actually had just saw them at the first Son of Terrible Fest event last week, and I was like, "Oh, good. I'm just letting you know, nothing happens to cats today." We clarified. It's not like that the Bloodstick production films have not been without controversy at their times there, which is kind of why I wanted to talk to you today, because I think one of the first times you and I ever talked online was during some controversy for Corpse for Christmas, and we were just sort of talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
how kind of hypocritical people can be sometimes when it's you can never really tell when people are super supportive sometimes, and then they all of a sudden the same thing they really hate.
Yeah, that was sort of disappointing last year, especially because in the past I had like donated to that community outreach program and like had gone to a lot of events for them. So it was a little bit disappointing. I think unfortunately, like it just seems like some of the people that they have working within it have different views about specifically horror content. And I'm pretty used to this for the most part, especially like working in making like pornographic material, but also having a horror stint. Like not everybody who is in that scene is like very like cool about horror. Um, so I wasn't surprised by it, but I was just pretty like disappointed just because we also like we did end up like anonymously donating stuff to them. I think I can say that at this point now, because we didn't want them to like return it. But we had raised like, donation funds for them. So it just kind of was like a bit of a mess. But horror, like, and especially porn too, like they provoke people and you're always going to have to trip around some issues with horror being in media. Um, and I think some people just also didn't know what the film was and didn't know the things that were happening. They knew that like sex workers and porn performers were being employed by it. And I think they just decided that they don't think we should be in a horror movie because none of us were playing sex workers in the movie. But some people really have that opinion, and unfortunately it just kind of had like a silly little thing. The fact that like commenting to it's instead of like reaching out to someone to be like, hey, can I sit down and watch the movie and have like an assessment of what this is to decide how I feel, they kind of just like went with what their first gut feeling was on it, and that was a little sad, but it is what it is. We were fine. We still ended up doing the premiere. We still anonymously donated the money that we planned to. And yeah,
And
it
that's
is what it
what's
is.
important because I mean the people that the charity goes to
Yeah, they're the
matters way
ones who
more than
need
the people doing it.
it.
Yeah.
Like
So I mean,
they're in the community and we care about, that community. Like there's a lot of people that are employed within our films that are a part of like the sex work community. So of course you want to like give back. So
again, when you're working with a wider audience from you think you're making your films for yourself, but sometimes you're making yourself for your scene, like we as we kind of are in, and then you start to get this little bit where you start to work outwards. So then you realize, oh, there's more people in the mix, and when there's more people in the mix, there's more room for confusion. There's more room for that one person to have a different opinion that ruins the party sometimes.
I think too, and this is something that I see, especially like working in the extreme cinema space and having done some of those films and knowing so many people, it's something that like does come to a head. Like I do witness people keep making films and then kind of get tripped up about what someone's critique or thought about their film is. And like some people really feel hurt that like someone watched an extreme violent film and then assumes that they, the director and writer, are like that in real life. And I'm like, well, like you have to remember, like the regular populace is like not cool with a lot of this content. And it doesn't mean that you made it from the place of like actually being fucked up, but someone is going to assume that. And you have to be able to remove yourself enough to remember that you made it for an artistic endeavor as opposed to like because I don't know, you want like you're not like living out your fantasies on a film. I don't think everyone's doing that. I think people like to write and like to make this content, but it doesn't mean that like you're a bad person. However, the global whole is going to think you're a bad person and you have to be kind of ready for that. Um so I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of used to it. Vania, I think, had like very little pushback for a little bit. And that was kind of like maybe my first time like realizing that could be a potential issue. Um, but all the like modeling stuff I was doing prior to that also made me realize like I needed to get a stage name and I needed to like, reorient myself because yeah, it's like the general public isn't going to consume that media. So they're not going to have like a better full circle view of the people making it. They're
Well,
just going to,
it's not exactly made for everyone.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, really?
I'll,
It's not.
I mean, I'll get into the concept that I want to ask you how your reaction is over the last year of like touring this film. A lot of people who do this budget of film, this scene that we're all kind of in, don't tour to the level that you guys have. You guys have been like, Bruce specifically has been on the road always. It's his thing. And a good chunk of them, you've been there and you've been out speaking before the films and doing stuff as well. How how surprised are you by the response that you're able to, like, when you show up to these things, that there's like pretty much a full house at these places? Like you said, people you don't know who have shown up wanting to see this.
Well, first off, I'll say too, like, I think Bruce is really good at like getting connections and working out the tour routes. I mean, it's like kind of incredible. I didn't work out any of that stuff, but when he's telling me like all the different places it's gonna play, I'm just like, wow, really? Like, seriously? Like, it's pretty surprising. And I think in general, like, I'm always surprised by how much people like the films that I'm in or have like contributed any writing to. I didn't expect to be on this path or doing this in this way. So it's really cool. Um, and it is surprising. I've definitely had people who were following me from other things come to specifically this movie this time around. Like, I just had a really awesome interaction with someone who I saw at an art show, and they were like, "Oh, I've been like following you since you got interviewed in Hustler because I used to work for them." And I'm like, "Oh, that's like such a crazy like connection point." Um, there's other people that saw Vania years ago and are coming to things now, which I'm just like, wow, really? Like, it's like cute. Um, and it is really cool. I honestly don't know what to do with it most of the time. Because I'm always surprised. And yeah, I don't know. It's like it's so niche and it's such like a microcosm of like the entire film industry and also any type of performance work. But it is like shocking, genuinely. Like if somebody comes up to me and like talks about a film or recognizes me from one of the films, I appreciate it. Like I want that to happen. I just also like really get like like I'll be like, oh, like I'm almost
You're a human being? What?
yeah, it's just like wild, and yeah, I'm just so glad people seem to really like it too. I just started, we have a screening copy now. Um, and I have sent that to some other people that like I really like appreciate their film work and other things. So some people have gotten back to me and like really have liked it, and that really means so much because it's like, the filmmakers and writers that you look up to, you want to be able to almost like give back, be like, wow, you're so inspiring. Like now I'm making these things, and without seeing the work you've done, I wouldn't be here either. So
Well, and how's that also feel to the fact that a lot of people will think of you visually as a model, and then I really like to point out the fact that you were involved heavily with the writing of the film, that it gives you full credit for that, and hopefully that's not getting overlooked by people, because it's a whole creative process. One, it seems like with the Bloodsick group, it's kind of a family, for starters in there, which I really like groups of filmmakers that do that. But it's something that should be celebrated, that you're not just an actress, not just a model, you're also the creative drive in there. So one, give yourself a pat on the back and don't have to be that worried about it, but I hope that people are giving you a lot of credit for that as well, and getting and being aware of that people aren't just seeing it going, oh, she seems real fun in this movie. But as much as they will say, like, a Bruce Longo film on there, it really does seem, and Bruce, if I've talked to him enough, he'd be the first to say it, that it is a group effort for you guys.
yeah. I mean, I just the movie really came out of me getting obsessive about watching a lot of like early 2090s witch movies last year. And I just started to pick out themes and plot points that I really loved. And I was like, wow, I really wish like these things were all in a movie, or these characters were all in a movie. And I feel like I missed out on the time frame to even be in one of these, but also there's just not the perfect one. And I just kind of had these ideas ruminating in my head. I really wasn't sure if I was going to like do much with it. And I was talking to my one friend, Josh Christensen, who is the lead actor in Blood Sick Psychosis. And we were talking, and he's like, you should just pitch it to Bruce. Like, this seems like a great idea. And yeah, I just like came up to Bruce and was like, hey, like I have these concepts and ideas for a movie. I want to tie it into the stuff that you already do in some way, but these are like the pinpoint things that like I want to see in a film. And um yeah, we like just constantly were texting like ideas back and forth, like working out like where the drama lies, where like the issues between characters would be, naming them, casting them, thinking about, scenes that would fit, especially because I wanted it to be like a romantic movie, because horror romance is like my favorite. And I just it was nice to be able to like work so much with Bruce, especially because like I feel like I'm not very good at writing dialogue, but like I understand what happens in real life. And I think being able to talk to him about things that could potentially happen between people, and then he's so good at writing like pretty pretty casual real life dialogue for people
Mhm.
that I think it just worked really well and meshed together. And then we had Josh Schaefer from Lunch Meat write in his part, which was supposed to be a short film he was going to do with Bruce. And then Bruce realized that it would make sense within the greater whole of the film. So yeah, it really was like a cool collaborative effort. Most of the time when I've done like writing for things, it's just been some like dialogue edits. Like in the case of the A Baroque House films with Vanya and Flesh Eater X, like I did rewrites on the dialogue. Um, but with Coven and also the short film I did this year, Shriek of the Devil, like that was also another like co-writing collaborative piece. I'm getting to the point where I think maybe I can write by myself. We'll see. um, but yeah, it's been really cool, honestly, to enmesh ideas because I think you get like a better sense of something being more real that way too.
Well, as well as the other two let's say films, there is a theme of where it can be quite comedic and then lull you into not being prepared for the
Yeah.
next scene and every time, which I think makes some of the more heavier things stick out. And then it doesn't, but it also is comfortable because it doesn't have to be that heavy all the way through. It has a lot of like light, really funny parts. And so if you saw it in the wrong clips, if you sent a bunch of clips of one scene to somebody and then clips of the other, they could think it was totally two different films.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it would come off as like an extreme like gore, like almost fetish, like violent film, or it could be just like a dramatic romance. Like if you really separated it, because it really does get to that point. And that's also something I think even with Corpse for Christmas, Bruce did a good job of having these breaks in the film that give you a second to breathe. And I think our like Coven is way more emotionally heavy. Like there is scenes of like scary violence, but um I would say it's way more like emotionally intense as opposed to like Corpse, where like that is visually intense pretty much every 5 minutes.
It it does come off, I think, with a little bit more understanding of it. With, I mean, I like Corpse, and it was one of the ones where I had to question myself of because I did not play Corpse for Christmas at any of my events or any of my festivals, mainly because of timing, because I just played Bloodsick Psychosis. But it was one of these bits where I was like, how do I what do I put that with? How do I prep that day? Because I do bring a lot of people who, a lot of my reason for Terrible Fest is to bring people who don't know that scene. A lot of people come up to me and they're like, Adam, where do you find these things? How are you involved with these people? Who do they exist? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do because it's where the people I look for.
Yeah.
But I like when a bunch of people come to shows that do not know what they're going to get into. And there's certain films that I feel like that's a heavy gamble. And I'm like, there is a lot of there's a an underlining cruelty in Course for Christmas that people who wouldn't get it if they weren't ready for it may get stuck on that and may get lost in it. There's with the right people, and there's people again, what you said, they're not made for everybody. But we've also mentioned of Venya, and I want to bring this up. I am going to talk actually about this more in another video this week with my normal co-host Morgan. We're going to be talking about the upcoming major Terrible festival because Morgan's does a lot of my shows with me, but he's not really involved in the festival. So every so often, he just asks. We do a video, and he's going to ask me questions about it. And we're going to bring up Sam Hell in
Yeah.
there because we have their recent project sent to us, and all I'm going to say right now is at this point, I have declined to choose that film. We'll talk about it more for other reasons for it. I have a lot of respect for Sam Hell's stuff. They're a big legend in that sort of scene for a whole bunch of us, not just gore hounds, but sort of like underground art house of fans. But again, it's in that situation where I was like, what can I pair that with the evening? What can I play before and after that that would at all either prepare somebody or without seeming like I've confused them on purpose or like misled them?
I think that's good though to like be able to objectively curate things like that because it's not it this stuff isn't always palatable for other people and like that's yeah like having the foresight to be like okay actually like I don't think I can curate this for this thing. Like, that's okay. You have to like know your audience and I'm always surprised that so many people come out to the things that they do. I think Coven just in general doesn't read as intense as Corpse through the trailer. And so I do think it enticed more people. Plus, we've got such, oh my God, there's like 60 plus people in the movie. And
Yeah.
there's 20, 21 bands. And so you've also got everybody coming out to like support all the people within that. So I definitely know that's a good portion of the full house. But I think it's also this one. I mean, even when I've talked about it with people, I've been like, I want you to be there. I want you to come. Like, please check out this film. I'm so proud of it. Whereas, like, when people were like, oh, I want to see you in that movie Corpse, like, I was like, my scene's kind of intense. I don't know if you want to come to this, and it's okay if you don't. Like, so they're definitely different films in terms of stuff like that. And it's like you can't pair that with everything. So
Well, I'm super glad that you're getting the support that you're getting and that you're getting the reactions you're getting because now you're getting busy. I'm noticing your IMDb has not been updating any pre-production projects on there, but I know there is some. I don't know how much you're talking about them, but you've posted sharing some screen time with some very cool people in the last little bit.
yeah, that came out of oh my gosh, that was such a so Newt Wallen reached out to me about doing a fill-in for a role for his upcoming film Amityville Pool Toy Massacre. And I got to work with Diana Prince or Darcy the Mail Girl.
Right.
Which was so cool because she's so cool. She's so wicked smart. Just talking about movies even for a little bit, she's got so much knowledge about everything, like between like jokes on set to just like random stuff I didn't know about films. Like even we talked about Cemetery Man, and that's like literally for a long time was one of my favorite films. And she's like, like I like parts of it, but then gave me like a plethora of information I had no idea about. I was like, what? I was like, you just kind of liked it and you know all that. Like, she's such a wealth of like encyclopedic knowledge on films. So that was really fun. That should be coming out soon. I think most of the time with this stuff is, to be perfectly honest, like IMDb is kind of rough to import and work with as a website. So I think there's a bunch of stuff on there that isn't on there because of that. the movie database can be a pain, but it is easier to kind of get your stuff up that way and like update it. So I have that. There's also some other stuff in the pipeline that's just kind of shorter roles with other directors and kind of waiting to see where that's at. There's the potential for like a project with Johnny Dickey. We're supposed to be filming that in the next like week or two. And Giacomo Verti as well, which is Ensuring Your Body to Hell films. So we've been talking about a potential project for a minute, and that should be filmed by the end of the year too. But yeah, I don't think any of that stuff is going to end up on a pre-production IMDb. It's just like, all this underground.
Well, Newt does for a lot of that stuff. The reason I mentioned it is only because at first when you were posting snippets of it, you posted a bunch of stuff with Newt, but then you'd already posted a bunch of stuff because how could you not, that you were doing something with Darcy. So at first I wasn't 100% sure if those were the same project. I thought they were, but I was going to let you say that. I think about that too. When you're that much of a plethora of a movie person, there's sometimes a moment where you're like, wait, so you've watched so much, you know so much. Is that the reason you only sort of like Cemetery Man? I'm like, as a fan, I'm a huge, huge fan of Dylan Dog of the comic books. It had a really, really terrible actual movie. And then Cemetery Man is not really based off it, but there's all this sort of wink wink that it sort of is. And then like, if that was any other product that I really geek about, I think that would ruin it for me, where I'd be like, well, why is it not really Dylan Dog? But it's so good a film, I don't care. It's like so fun. I have a memory of my dad buying that for me when I was like 16 or something, because I asked for it on VHS for Christmas. And of course, the back is the shot of them having sex on in the cemetery. And my dad was like, well, son, I don't know what kind of things you're into these days, but and I feel weird getting this for you for Christmas, but there you go, you asked for it. It was this really, really awkward interaction. I'm like, it's not going to be what you think.
Supportive, though.
I guess so, yeah. But because like the front of the cover seems like your generic horror film, and I don't even think I'd seen it yet at that point either. It was just this thing that like hypnotized me in the video store. But it's so much more than that. I mean, Michelle Savoy is incredible in almost anything they've done, but that's probably one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, it's where when I was trying to think of a stage name, that's where I got Eyesore Angel from.
I always questioned for a long time. I thought they made that word up because I was like, I've never heard anyone else say that word. Stuck with me, especially how she says it.
I know.
The way she says it's super haunting.
Oh my God.
The first person ever to like make it sound sexy too. That's amazing. Well, Zoe, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me and sticking through on our little technical glitches we had at the beginning. Everybody else, come on October 8th to Eyesore Cinema, and for the late show will be Coven of the Black Cube, and you will get to see an hour and a half of other shorts from around the world, including the fungi of Yuggoth and many other really weird things. I hope everyone has fun out there. And Zoe, I look forward to seeing everything else you're doing. And of course, I will be stalking your Instagram to find out and let everybody else know as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, please enjoy the film and write a letterbox review. I do read them all. I really, as I continue to write and perform, I only want to get better from here. So honestly, they do, especially for smaller creators and like filmmakers in general, reviews matter so much. I mean, we really take that into account of what we make next. So thank you guys and have a good time.
Thanks again, Zoe. Thanks for coming.
From Bloodsick Productions, a heavy metal love story full of arsenic and witchery.
They said on the news that they found some guy's dead body on the side of the cliff, and they think that witches did it.
There have been a string of murders lately that seem to have a common thread of mysticism and signs of pagan ritual.
We noticed other parts of the corpse had been moved, notably the man's heart.
Another South Philadelphia resident
has fallen to the still unexplained plague deemed the Widowmaker, which brings the body count up to 33 married men with no discernible cause of death.
We're expanding the search area. We think there may be more body parts nearby.
What the fuck?
I'm looking for some sort of unorthodox form of marriage counseling.
Milo, if you didn't spend all your time watching these trashy movies made by psychopaths,
Here's the arsenic you ordered.
A queer romance cursed by black magic and the occult. Starring Morgan Millam,
does this say semen in a glass of milk?
Zoe Angeli,
Circles and squares, pizza and video rewind and get high.
Josh Schaefer, Annie Mitchell,
Fucking bitch! You poisoned me!
and Casper Melted Hair.
I need some jala and some donuts while I'm watching these monster movies. Go, go, go.
Our main clue is the recurring image of a black cube.
Coven of the Black Cube.
Oh, fuck. Real fucking nasty. Ugly shit.
We love Audio Video Plus.